Good morning, my very good friends. On today's wrestling news, Cody and Brandi Rhodes are expecting their first child.
The number one contender for the NXT Championship at New Year's Evil has been revealed.
Kenny Omega's next opponent for the AEW World title has been revealed.
And the real reason Dakota Kai hasn't been on NXT recently. I'm Adam Wilborn.
I'm Andy Murray.
And this is the news.
All right, let's kick things off with some congratulations. A nice warm open to today's news video. Cody and Brandi Rhodes are expecting their first child together. This was announced during last night's episode of Dynamite. This little segment started where they were kind of fixing up their Christmas tree, and I'm sitting there watching Dynamite like, what the hell is this? Well, I like the Rhodes, but why are they? What's their Christmas tree got to do with anything? Well, we soon learned. The doorbell rang, they went to the door, there was a small parcel on the doorstep. They took it inside, opened it up, small pair of baby shoes, little tree decoration with the confirmation that they are expecting their first child in 2021. All of this went down before Brandi's match with Angelico, before Cody's match with Angelico. Brandi came out, got the round of applause, everything, nice feel-good moment. Now, Brandi has already released an interview with People about the situation, and I got a quote from her here saying, Cody and I are so excited and overwhelmed by this news. We've had 7 exciting years of marriage, worked together to grow our careers and our core at AEW from the ground up, and now we are here embarking on another incredible chapter. We have always talked about it as a future, and it turns out that the future is now. It's surreal that parenthood is right around the corner. We are ready and excited to dive right in. So, I mean, what a year for the two of them, right? It's been a terrible year in a lot of different ways, but they've had plenty of bright stuff to focus on. AEW is doing really well. They're obviously both big parts of that organization. Now they've got their first child on the way. Congratulations to them, and really nice to hear a bit of just warm, good news at the end of this crap year.
Well, I guess that's the Brandi and Jade Cargill feud out the window then. No, I'm joking, of course. Fantastic news. Congratulations to the two of them. Obviously, wonderful stuff like this. We've just come off the back of news, of course, of Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch having their baby Rue, and now Cody and Brandi are expecting. It is fantastic, which makes it arguably even more surprising, Andy, that I've had a sneak peek. And Simon Miller is going to give this a brown down on Dynamite Ups and Downs because, of course, he hates babies. So, a little bit of an exclusive there for you. But not a lot to say other than what you mentioned there, Andy. Great news. Congratulations to the two of them. At least Cody, just won his match and had a lovely time and didn't go bonkers like Seth Rollins, because that comes presumably after the baby's born and you haven't slept for about 2 months straight or whatever.
This is it. I can't wait for the Wednesday Night Messiah to show his face in a few months. Whose eyeballs are you going to take out? Darby Allin's? Just scoop it out? I don't know.
Oh dear.
We'll see.
But yes. And thanks to Sting last night for saving the father-to-be when everyone on Team Taz was about to kill him post-match. But let's move from AEW over to NXT, and it will be Kyle O'Reilly challenging Finn Balor for that NXT Championship at New Year's Evil on the 6th of January. Kyle O'Reilly defeating Pete Dunne in what can only be described as, yet again between these two, a war. A brilliant, hard-hitting war on last night's episode of NXT. Kyle O'Reilly hitting a tornado DDT to the outside and that flying knee drop, which of course also won the Undisputed Era. Look at it! That got the pinfall victory over Pete Dunne. And as I said, it's going to be a rematch. Kyle O'Reilly versus Finn Balor for the NXT title and New Year's Evil. Also confirmed on last night's show, we're getting a murder. Karrion Kross versus Dexter Lumis off the back of Karrion Kross killing kind of jobber Desmond Troy. The right sort of booking, in my opinion. And Andy, let's not forget the big New Year's Evil revelation. Dexter Lumis, a man who does not talk, is hosting it. What?
Cannot wait for that. That's going to be really good. Kyle O'Reilly versus Finn Balor will obviously be good for, right? I mean, the first match was awesome. It was one of the best, if not the best. Well, Fight Pit was great as well. But one of the better NXT matches of the year, I think. Really great stuff. No reason to believe this won't be any different. Really looking forward to that. What a hot way to start the year. That'll be awesome.
And also, I can't help but feel more concern about the impending doom of the Undisputed Era. You just feel like it's just so ominous as we head into 2021. But a brilliant way to start the year off. for NXT, even if that kind of devil baby sort of creeps me out a bit on the New Year's Evil side.
Yeah, I don't need that in my life. Please take it away. Let's talk about how AEW are going to close 2020 rather than opening 2021 with a world title like NXT are doing. AEW will close 2020 with theirs. Kenny Omega defending the AEW World Championship against Rey Fenix on the first night of New Year's Smash. That's the 30th of December. 2 weeks today, 2 weeks yesterday, Andy, you moron. This came last night. Joey Janela defeated... no, he didn't. What am I on about?
By the way,
Kenny, imagine that. Imagine Joey Janela beat Kenny Omega for the world title 2 weeks after he won it. No, Kenny Omega beat Joey Janela in what was effectively a hardcore squash match. Don Callis doing running commentary, which was annoying. But the match concluded. Kenny Omega, of course, was put in this match because he was supposed to face Janela in the tournament. Janela pulled out. We had this match to make good on that. Afterwards, Don Callis got on the microphone and said, "That's it. All the questions are answered. Kenny Omega's the world champion. No more. Bugger off. Goodbye." Out comes Pac, the bastard, going, "Oi, oi, oi. Listen, mate, you've just faced one guy who was supposed to be in the tournament, but my brother here, Rey Fenix, he was supposed to be in the tournament as well. He had to pull out because of injury. You beat Pentagon, you didn't beat Phoenix. We're going to go one-on-one, you and him, Phoenix and Kenny, on the 30th of December. Don Callis was like, no, you don't tell us what to do, wrestler bastard, man." But Pac had bad news for him. Summoned his inner Wade Barrett. Tony Khan had already signed off on the match, so it's going down on the 30th of December. It should be a really great match. They had one in AAA in October 2019 for the Mega Championship that Kenny Omega still has, which was an absolute riot. This will be the first time they've gone one-on-one in AEW. It's going to be a banger. I mean, the booking makes sense because Phoenix was supposed to be in that tournament, yet got hurt, had to pull out, didn't want to pull out. It was Eddie Kingston who went, "Brother, get lost. My best friend is taking your place." So there's a lot of stuff in play here. At the end of the day, I think it'll just be a killer match. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, a match to the excitement of almost every wrestling fan out there. Like you say, I think it's going to be an absolute banger. And to the fury of every wrestling writer out there who thought, right, well, there's the match of the year list done and dusted. And then they're sneaking this one in just before the end of the year when everyone's probably trying to enjoy the sort of lull between Christmas and New Year. But yeah, cannot wait for that. And also, is it me who thought, I mean, they're not going to have an authority figure, but is it me who thought Pac could make a bloody good GM when he decides to stop wrestling? I love him out there, just shouting in his Geordie accent. Yeah, brilliant match. Can't wait to see that. And of course, there's just going to be another, well, if Omega, which you would assume, defeats Rey Fenix, there's just going to be another moment of like, well, guess everyone's sorted then. No question marks over Kenny Omega as world champion. And I suspect, Andy, that is when a certain Mr. Moxley may well return and say, I've got one question. How about you beat me clean?
Hello, brother. Time for the 2 out of 3 falls match at Revolution.
Sign me up. Right, let's transfer back to NXT. And you may have noticed Dakota Kai hasn't been on our screens for the last couple of weeks following. And it's not actually due to the injuries, although she did seem to suggest she was going to be off TV for a while in that whole casualties of war games thing that they put on NXT after the other weekend. That is not the real reason she hasn't been on our TV. According to Fightful Select, Kai is actually off our screen, just clearing up a visa issue. Currently no word on how long she's going to be away for, although it is noted that people seem to think that she'll actually be back in quite soon, basically. You're not going to worry like she's going to be off TV for 6 months or whatever. But also, I think this is weirdly working in WWE and NXT's advantage, Andy, because you know, as much as I love Dakota Kai, I want her to go away for a bit, make me miss her, as I always say. And also, it's giving more focus to Raquel Gonzalez, who you would assume is going to have to go through Rhea Ripley, but then is the next challenger possibly for Io Shirai's title.
Yeah, it seems to be the direction they're heading in, doesn't it? With the pin, obviously, at War Games, and then the follow-up by beating a former champion, Ember Moon, last week, getting into it with Ripley again this week. There's a big surge for Raquel Gonzalez at the moment, and you know, Kai being away, even though they're obviously very closely aligned, allows her to kind of go it alone and see how she does as a singles act without her second. Well, I mean, she's technically the second, but you know what I mean, without her ally there. Looking forward to seeing how that pans out. Looking forward to seeing Dakota Kai back on TV as well, folks. She's really good.
So really one of the most underrated stars. And as much as people seem to think, oh, she's a good hand, she's great at elevating people on their way to a world title reign, I think she should probably be world champion at some point.
Yeah,
maybe next year. And I certainly wouldn't rule out Raquel Gonzalez defeating Io Shirai. She is lethal. Look at the size of her bloody back. Anyway, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE, of course. First question today comes from CM Chunk, who says, as we're getting close towards the end of the year, who do you think will break out in wrestling in 2021, and who would you like to see get a push in 2021, Andy?
I think with the rate of improvement she's showing at the moment, Anna Jay is going to break out in a major way next year. She's just ridiculously good for someone who's had something like 19 matches already.
Mad.
And if she continues on that level of improvement, working with the likes of Serena Deeb in that women's division, I think she'll be in a great place next year. In WWE, I think Sonya Deville, if and when she returns, is in a great spot to elevate towards the top of the women's division. There's lots of different people. Powerhouse Hobbs, I think in AEW would be another cool one. In WWE, it can be very tough to predict because, things are very uncertain once you hit the main roster. But in NXT, I think there's a couple of exciting people down there. We'll see how it pans out, but those would be my top two, Anna Jay and Sonya Deville.
Yeah, I think Sonya Deville needs to be a world champion in 2021. I completely agree with you on that one. And Anna Jay, it defies logic when you look at like her cage match and go, wait, is that it? Is that all the matches she's had? It's insane. So yeah, I completely with you on that one. More hope than expectation, but obviously with all the buzz around Ben Carter this year, hopefully next year is a breakout year for him if WWE handle him correctly. And who I'd like to see get a push, who I'd like to see have a title around his waist, or more specifically, his head on his hat. Carrigan, baby, straight to the moon!
All right.
And always, of course, my best friend MJF. And also Wade Barrett, get back. Okay, let's move on. Next question today comes from J Phil. He says, how about a little wrestling would you rather? Oh, I like this. Would you rather, Andy, watch Dexter Lumis wrestle or listen to the Acclaimed rap?
Wow, that's harsh. So the answer for me is quite straightforward, and it's listen to the Acclaimed rap because, the Max Caster's bars, they're not always on point. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're a little bit, come on, man, cut a little bit deeper. We're just asking him to cut a verse on us now, aren't we? But I think, they're two young guys who are right at the start of their mainstream wrestling career. They've had like one match on Dynamite and a bunch on Dark. So I would hate to write them off that early into their career. And I actually think for the most part, they can be pretty entertaining. Dexter Lumis has been a televised pro wrestler since he was in TNA as Sam Shaw ages ago, and subjectively he does next to nothing for me, although I thought the strap match actually at TakeOver was pretty good. So I don't hate to watch him wrestle, but if I had to choose one or the other, it's the Acclaimed dropping bars every day.
Yeah, unquestionably I prefer the Acclaimed. I thought their bars were pretty fresh on this week's epised of Dynamite.
Pretty fresh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
All I would say is drop a beat. No, I'm not going to. Am I?
No, Jesus. Move.
Hey, the Acclaimed. We just want you to have better crack because we think your lines are wiggada whack.
They're going to kill you for that.
All right, let's move on to the final question of the day. It comes from Angela Dawn, who says, in your opinion, what was the best wrestling match and the worst wrestling match of 2020?
Instead of okay, it's a tough question because there's been quite a lot of good wrestling this year, despite everything that's going on.
Yes.
So how about I pick my least and most favorite, which is I guess kind of the same thing, but subjective. My favorite match of 2020 is Jon Moxley versus Minoru Suzuki from New Japan. Just two completely different types of badass running into each other head first. It's just my kind of wrestling. It's hard, it's tough, it's got fighting spirit, it's ugly. It's the kind of stuff I'm into. Least favorite or worst wrestling match. Oh, Jesus. I could pick a couple of different cinematic ones. The Tooth and Nail match from AEW. There's a few, I know, like the weird thing with the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders and the Bin Monster.
That was good. Big Ninja.
That was something else. But the absolute worst, I think, was the Swamp Fight. This was unwatchable dreck. I kind of appreciate wrestling that's so bad it's good. Like some of the late era WCW stuff is, you can't help but laugh at Judy Bagwell on a forklift, for example. But this was it went beyond that. It was just complete and utter, I want to swear, but I'm not going to. Braun Strowman's shock acting, the guy getting set on fire, The Fiend.
I forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah, The Fiend, seemingly drowning him or something, and just looking at hands and sister, garbage storytelling, just flush it in. You've made me depressed now, Angela, come on. But yeah, I hated that.
Don't worry, I've got something for the end and finally to cheer you up, Andy. Yeah, I think best wrestling match of the year for me personally was the tag team match for the titles at Revolution, because it restored my faith in tag team wrestling. And yeah, it was just, in a year where we've had Bucks and FTR, it's amazing to say that, but it was just jaw-dropping that. And it was also one of the last times I was happy, because I watched that hungover after going out with a load of mates in Newcastle in February. Best wrestling moment, I would say, not that you've asked that, but still, Edge returning at the Royal Rumble, of course. Worst wrestling match might be Edge versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania.
You're gonna get shit for that, brother. I just swore, but who cares?
Yeah, it really disappointed me. It was long. It didn't live up to any of our expectations. Yes, they salvaged it with the match at Backlash, but I didn't like that at all. Yes, you would automatically go for something like Brock versus Ricochet, just like 90 seconds, no offense, Super Showdown. Like almost any match at Super Showdown, actually. The Fiend versus Bray Wyatt. The Fiend versus Bray Wyatt, The Fiend versus Goldberg. Almost any match in that piss trophy tournament that The Undertaker won. But also the Swamp match, because it didn't even have a bloody finish, did it, Andy? It just had stock footage of crocodiles. The water went red, and they went, right, thanks for coming, everyone. And then, I don't know, it was just awful. It was just dreadful. We've been doing podcasts recently, Andy, that'll be out next week about some of our best and worst wrestling moments. And me and Sidge and Hamlet, we go into detail on some of those things I've just mentioned there. So make sure you subscribe. WhatCulture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcast from. But let's move on to today's and finally. And seeing as today is the day of the WhatCulture Christmas party, of course, socially distanced, we're going to be doing a quiz on Zoom and just drinking at home and stuff. It'll be not the same, but let's share a moment from an old Christmas party, and where Ewan, of WhatCulture Comics, etc., asked, what's it like taking a wrestling shop? And the nicest man in the WhatCulture office, Adam Nicholas, duly obliged, and this happened.
Yeah, you ready? Oh, good family.
Let's have a wee look.
I did ask you. Oh, he's drawn blood. Oh, he's broke the skin. Oh.
It's the handprint on his chest already.
The noise that thing makes, man.
It sort of makes me weirdly like wince, I laugh, and I'm sort of nostalgic from there, because I was like, oh yeah, remember when we used to be able to touch each other, Andy? But yes, don't worry, we'll all get through it. We are nearly there. Just be good for a few more months, and hopefully it'll all be back to normal, and we'll have the real WhatCulture Christmas party with all the stories that go along with it in May or something. Let us know your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. Me and the Daddy Boys sitting down to discuss the Wednesday Night War later. Plus, let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCulture WWE. Watch there. You can follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Happy Birthday, Eugene. I've just reminded you of that character.
Oh, yeah.
Bloody hell.
Follow me on Twitter at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us. We will see you soon.